As we move on, the last thing in constitutional law, and then it gets a little bit more exciting because I know this is kind of a little droll, it's just words on paper, is procedural versus substantive due process. Due process obviously being your rights, speedy jury trial, jury of your peers, impartial, making sure you have a grand jury, things of that nature. With that, we want to make sure that the procedural end is going to be guaranteeing those rights of the jury trial, of the judge, of a jury of your peers, of no unreasonable searches and seizures, just anything that you would have along the process. Substantive is actually more of an effect. So it's to say that laws and ordinances and things that come into contact with business wouldn't impede them from being able to exist or function normally. So that's kind of a strange distinction and kind of tough. This is more of an application. This is more of a procedural question or a process question. Okay? Is everyone okay with that? It's kind of a little bit of a rough concept. It's actually very simple to apply it if you just think of application and the process. Applying, process. That's all. And you already have process in procedural. That makes sense. Okay. So that's what we need to know for constitutional law. Next thing, and we're going to speed up a little bit, is criminal law. Everyone here has taken accounting before or no? Yeah. Most people? Not everyone? I know you all have heard of Sarbanes-Oxley, 2002, thanks to Enron. Thank you all for making accounting viable for people now and keeping CPAs employed for the rest of our lives. Sarbanes-Oxley obviously being a corporate responsibility test, things of that nature, and the white-collar crime that's a result of that. I don't think I need to touch too much on that. I think everyone here has pretty much touched on Sarbanes-Oxley, reporting, things of that nature, just conduct tests, that's there. Something really important is something called mens rea. Does anyone know what that means? It's a Latin phrase. Anyone? Yeah. The mindset that you have, yes, your active mindset. So, with that in play, can anyone see how that would play into like criminal law? Intent, exactly. So, if you're thinking like, I'm going to do this, then yeah, you're going to have the mindset or the intent to do it. There's also something else, which is conscious avoidment. And this goes back to the Ahmad case that we're going to talk about. If you have the mindset to do it, or if you're the mindset like, well, you know, I'm going to leave this pen here. I know I should clean it up, and I know it's my job to do that. I'm just going to walk away and pretend like I don't have to do it. So something kind of important there as well. That's the difference between actually doing something and choosing to not do something. It's all the same at the end of the day, but the effects are the same. It's just a different way of putting it. The Ahmad case, real quick, was the one with the gasoline. The guy pumping the gasoline, if you remember. There's the Clean Water and Air Act that's going on. This is 1996, I believe. Yep, that was just passed very recently in, I believe, 1992, 1993. He's pumping gasoline, thinking it's water, down a drain. And what happens when you put gasoline down a drain? Where does it end up? Sewage. And what happens whenever we have sewage with gasoline in it?
Usually explodes.
Bad things happen, right? So obviously we can't be doing that. Not only does it pollute the water, but gasoline in our sewage systems, especially with something like human waste, which is extremely flammable, then compounded with gasoline, it's really a bad time for everyone involved. Guy was pumping it down, didn't know, got cited. Said, I didn't know that was happening. Question is, do you have a responsibility to know that that's happening? Or, if you really honestly didn't know, can you be held liable? Anyone have a thought? Perfect. So, there's this thing that we're going to get down to called scienter, or negligence. Scienter is the intent to deceive. Okay, so you know what's happening and you know you're trying to deceive people. And then you also have negligence, which is just not caring enough, and then bad things happen as a result. That's pretty much the easiest way that I can do it and say it. So, with that being said, in the Ahmad case, the guy honestly did not know. They said that he should not have known, and therefore it was okay for him. Now, if he had a responsibility to know, then it would have been his fault. So there's a distinction there. You're completely correct. It goes down to the strict liability thing that we're going to cover in a little while, and then back to basic liability and negligence as a result. Couple easy points here on your exam, very, very quickly. These are 8 free points for you. Digital Millennium Copyright Act deals with what?
Computers.
Copyrights with what?
Software and hardware.
Software and hardware. Perfect. Software and hardware, i.e. pirating. You can't download stuff on Pirate Bay, guys. That's the law that tells you can't do that. Can't file share. Can't do that stuff. You will see that tomorrow. Also, Electronic Fund Transfer Act. Has anyone here heard of wire fraud or mail fraud? Thing that they nailed a couple people like Al Capone with? Yeah. So electronic funds transfer means if you're trying to transfer funds over a bank or electronically on a bank, like through your Bank of America app to somebody, and you willingly or knowingly are defrauding something, obviously illegal to do that as well. This is to protect overseas banks, things of that nature. So again, 2 free questions right there. Pretty simple. The last thing, terrorism, obviously, that's a big one. We're exploring that a lot now. If you do buy counterfeit goods or illegal narcotics, that's the 2 main ways that terrorism is getting funded. Terrorist groups rely on different places as well, so kind of an interesting thought there that if you buy fake jerseys or you buy anything really fake in terms of knockoffs, like you've seen those knockoff Ray-Bans, those jerseys that have like the numbers slightly off a little bit or like that logo wrong, those institutions are actually run and funded mostly by terrorist activities. That is why if you go onto websites that are those sites that sell those types of jerseys and things like that, they've been seized by the U.S. Department of Justice, if you've ever seen any of those sites. Or you've seen Pirate Bay seized by U.S. Department of Justice because of Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and because those sites fund essentially terrorism. That's the lifeblood of the money that's put in there. Just something to think about.
So it was the EFTA?
You can't transfer money electronically illegally. You can't commit wire fraud electronically through banks. Last thing is the protections of the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment, which is the Dow case, which is the Dow Chemical. This is search and seizure as well, which is the 4th Amendment. 5th Amendment, can't incriminate yourself. We also know that we have the taking sort of holdings there for the Kello case. And the 14th Amendment is equal protection as well. So just kind of little bullet points that you want to keep in the back of your mind. 14th, equal protection. 5th Amendment, due process. And also taking some holdings. 4th, searches and seizures. This applies to the Dow Chemical case. Does anyone remember this at all? Has to do with an airplane. Nope. You guys really need to go back and read all your cases. Okay. I'm fine going over a lot of them now, but you need to have basic understandings of, even the most basic of facts, or else you guys won't be able to apply them to other things, so you're going to really struggle. Dow Chemical is going to be the chemical processing plants there. They had a plane fly overhead, and the EPA was taking pictures, and essentially it was surveillance photos because of the tail that they got.
That has to do with the Division of Privacy. And
correct.
That's what they found the case of, and they didn't have a warrant to do so. But then at the same time, it came to the clause of if it's in plain sight, does it really fall into the do we need a warrant?
Correct.
Okay.
So, does something in plain sight need a warrant?
No.
No. If there is something that requires some sort of effort like a plane or a warrant, do you need to have special permission to seek that evidence?
Yes.
Yes. Because what is protected? What's the most important thing protected? As you said, privacy. Correct. Exactly. You'll find that in a lot of these criminal cases, privacy is extremely important. What's important in constitutional law? What's important in constitutional law? Commerce. What's commerce deal with? Money. Good. Money. Money. Okay? These cases are all about money. Think about it. They're all businesses. Are people getting sued? What's criminal law deal with? Mostly.
Criminals and legal activities.
Privacy. Think about it. They're all private companies, private businesses, dealing in their affairs. Ahmad gets sued because he's carrying on private affairs and not knowing it in ignorance. Dow Chemical's getting sued for trade secrets and things like that because they want to keep their privacy. You go down further to the Miranda rights and your due process rights. What are your Miranda rights?
To prevent yourself from incriminating.
Correct. What are those rights? The rights to remain silent and the right to not incriminate yourself. Your right to
Protect yourself.
self-privacy. Exactly. They all deal with privacy. Those are very important things to deal with. And certainly some of these do deal with financial obligations and just crimes in general. But mostly these are dealing with privacy. Due process, making sure that your rights are protected through the entire process. And if you're not guilty of something and you are exonerated of it, you keep your privacy in the public eye and you keep your good image and you aren't having some sort of defamation as a result of that. So definitely consider those thoughts and that'll help you dictate. Pretty much everything else falls under torts. That's an easy way to look at it, guys, okay? So everyone good on criminal law?